Hello students, today we're going to talk about the standard form of linear equations. Now we talked about the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, and this crazy dude called JC squared introduced you to point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. That's such a catchy little tune right there, huh? And so today we're going to look at what standard form is, okay? Standard form is the third in the trio of forms of linear equations. Okay, so the standard form of the equation is capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. And I'm going to capital throw this marker away because it is trash. So, AX plus BY equals C. Now, A and B are just simply the coefficients of the X and the Y. Okay? The X and the Y are familiar to you, and Y equals mx plus b. That's not the same b as the... Don't ask me why. I didn't create this. I'm just showing you what it is. So we have AX plus BY equals C. Now it's standard form. What do you notice about standard form? Well, one of the things that you notice about standard form is X and Y are on the same side of the equal sign. In Y equals mx plus b, Y and X are on different sides, but in standard form, X and Y have to be on the same side. Okay? Notice that the coefficient of X and the coefficient of Y and even C, A, B, and C are all not fractions. Okay? So that's one thing that you have to make sure that you realize. In standard form, there are no fractions or decimals. That's another thing about standard form. That's why it's standard. There are no fractions, there are no decimals. So when you have fractions and decimals in equations, then you have to make sure that you get rid of them by multiplying the equation by a certain number to get rid of those fractions and decimals to make A, B, and C whole numbers. Okay? That's the important thing. So let's say I'm given something, let's say I'm given an equation in slope-intercept form, perhaps y equals 3x plus 5. Okay? So what I need to do is I need to put this in standard form. Well, standard form tells me that x and y have to be on the same side. Well, right now x and y are on different sides. Okay? Y is by itself, so I might as well just move the 3x over. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, so I can move it to this side. So that's negative 3x plus y equals 5. And you're thinking, oh, whoa, Mr. Collins, you didn't do that right. It should be y minus 3x. You're right, it should be y minus 3x, but it can also be negative 3x plus y. Y is positive, 3x is negative, because I need it in standard form. AX plus BY equals C, where the x comes first, and then the y, and then the c. So in this case, A is negative 3, B is 1, and C is 5. I have x and y on the same side. Now you might look at that and say, that doesn't look very pretty because there's a big old negative in front of everything, and we just don't like negatives in front of everything. Well, you're right. So I might not want the negative there, and I could change that. I could multiply everything in the equation by negative 1, and that would give me 3x minus y equals negative 5. And so that really is officially the official standard form. Now, some textbook companies and some writers of tests, they will put a negative in it and call it standard form. And I hate it when they do that because it's not standard. Standard is x is positive. But just know that it could be either one. So if I have a negative a, I can leave it that way, or I can multiply everything by negative 1. And 3x minus 5 equals negative 5 is the standard form of this equation, y equals 3x plus 5. So here it is in slope-intercept form, and then I just move the x and y to the same side to get 3x minus y equals negative 5 as my standard form of the equation. So what happens if I'm given an equation in slope-intercept form that is y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4, and I wanted to put it into standard form? Okay? So again, I'm going to put x and y on the same side of the equal sign. Right now, y is all by itself, so I might as well just move the x over there. X is negative 2/3 x, so when I add 2/3 to both sides, I get 2/3 x plus y equals 4. Okay? I want to tell you a little secret. Okay? I haven't told you this yet because, didn't know if you were ready, but I think you are now. There's something. I don't have to write plus 2/3 x every time because there's this magic thing that happens. Anytime I want to move something to the other side of the equal sign, I'm going to use my magic orange marker. When I want to move something to the other side of the equal sign, for instance, I need to move the x over with the y. There's some magic that happens when something crosses the equal sign. If I take this negative 2/3 x and I move it to the other side of the equal sign, some magic happens over here. Unicorns and bunnies and everything fly out. And when I cross the equal sign, the negative changes to a positive. Exactly. When you cross the equal sign, your sign changes. So if it was positive over here, then it would become negative on the other side. If it was negative over here, then it becomes positive on the other side. So you might want to start practicing that instead of putting plus 2/3 x plus 2/3 x on both sides. You can just move something to the other side of the equal sign. Same process, but you're just saving yourself some writing and some steps. Okay? The Math Council of 15 would be proud of you because you're saving yourself some ink or some lead. Okay, so anyway, so we've got 2/3 x plus y equals 4. That is almost standard form, but the problem is we have a fraction here, and I cannot have a fraction in standard form. So in order to get rid of a fraction, the easiest thing to do is just multiply everything by the denominator of that fraction. Now what's my denominator? My denominator is 3. So I'm going to multiply everything. I'm going to multiply the entire equation by 3. Okay? This is where you got to really know the whole multiplying fractions things. When I multiply 3 times 2/3, I just get 2, because the 3's cancel out and I'm left with 2. So that's 2x plus 3y equals 12. So the standard form of this equation is 2x plus 3y equals 12. The slope-intercept form is y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. Standard form, 2x plus 3y equals 12. All I did was move the x and y to the same side, and I multiplied everything by the denominator to get rid of the fractions. So let's write that down. To get rid of fractions, multiply everything, and I mean everything, by the denominator. Okay? Two most important things about dealing with standard form. One, no fractions or decimals in standard form. And if I have a fraction, to get rid of it, multiply everything by the denominator. Well, let's say that now I have an equation in point slope form. Y minus 5 equals negative 1/2 times the quantity of x plus 4. Okay? I know in this case that my slope is negative 1/2. And the point that I'm passing through is negative 4, 5. But that we don't need to worry about, because all I want to do is put this puppy in standard form. So first of all, to put it in standard form, I have to do the distributive property. Okay? So I have y minus 5 equals negative 1/2 x minus 2, because 1/2 of 4 is 2, and negative 1/2 times 4 is negative 2. Okay? So now I need x and y on the same side. And all the other constants need to be by them on the other side. Okay? So we've got y minus 5 equals negative 1/2 x minus 2. Well, the x is negative, so let's bring it over with the y. So I'm going to bring this over here, and I'm going to take this negative 5 and move it to the other side. Okay? So I have positive 1/2 x plus y, because y is positive, so that's plus, equals negative 2 plus 5. Because when I take that negative and move it across the equal sign, it changes to a positive. Okay? Same thing as adding 5 to both sides. So then I have 1/2 x plus y equals 3. Yay, I'm done. No, I'm not. Ha! Gotcha. Now I need to get rid of the fraction. And how do I get rid of the fraction? You're exactly right. I multiply everything by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2. 2 times 1/2 is just 1, so it would be x plus 2y equals 6. So if I have my point slope form of y minus 5 equals negative 1/2 times the quantity of x plus 4, and I do everything to get it in standard form, would be x plus 2y equals 6. So I would like to give you a challenge for this video. Okay? Here's an equation in standard form. 3x plus 4y equals 8. Okay? I want to challenge you. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. 1, how do you find the slope from standard form? And I'm going to just call it STF, standard form. Okay, standard form would be STF. How do I find the slope from standard form? Question 2 is, how do you find the y-intercept from standard form? I don't know why I have this word for in there. I'm going to give you a hint. We've done this before. We've done number 2 before. We found the y-intercept from standard form. You might have to go back a few little sections, see if you can remember, how do I find the y-intercept from standard form? This one, number 1, it's a little challenge. Because if you know how to do this, dude, I'm telling you, and dudettes, your life will be so much simpler. Now, we know how to find slope in y equals mx plus b, but it's not always given to us in y equals mx plus b. Sometimes it's given to standard form. How can I find the slope from standard form? Challenge. We'll talk about it in math workshop.